Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so very much for being here. I'm so excited for today's video. As you can see, it is hair wash day. Hopefully the wet hair doesn't bother you, but in today's video, I'm so excited to talk about all of the books that I read this winter. I haven't just like sat down and done like a monthly reading wrap up, and it's because I haven't been reading that many books in 1 month to make a video about it. So I thought, why don't I look back at the past 3 months and see what books I've read. So as you can see here, these are the physical books that I read since the beginning of the year, so from January to now. And I also have 2 audiobooks that I don't own physical copies of. Before I keep talking, let's get right into the video. Okay, so the very first book that I have here is The Return by Nicholas Spark. I am actually currently borrowing this book from my boyfriend's aunt. She recommended me so many books and she was so kind to actually like give me the books to read. I started off the year with reading this one. I read it and listened to the audiobook, and to be honest, it wasn't my absolute favorite. I think I rated it like a 3-star. There was a point where I was going to DNF it because I assumed something, but I was like, you know what, just keep pushing through. And I ended up finishing it. We are following our main character. Honestly, can't even remember. Trevor was his name. So Trevor is actually in the Navy and has gone through some pretty traumatic events, and he ends up going to North Carolina to live or like renovate. I can't really remember his like grandparents or grandfather's house. The book starts from there, where he is staying at this house, cleaning it up, renovating it, and getting ready to sell it. His grandfather also had a amazing like beehive in like the backyard or something like that, where Trevor then like tended to because he knew from his grandfather. That was really cool and fun to like read about. I thought it was interesting to have like bees in the story. It was a sort of like a romance. I wasn't the biggest fan of the romance. There was a lot of trauma between the two, and they learned how to like communicate and get past it. Like there was even like this whole like little like mystery going on. Yeah, I just wasn't very blown away by this book. I don't know, like maybe his writing just isn't my favorite. Like it just wasn't very captivating. I just wasn't invested into the characters, and that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes that's just how it goes with books. This is the second book that I've actually read by him. I also have read The Wish, and The Wish also like I wasn't that crazy about, but Nicholas Spark wrote the book for The Notebook and A Walk to Remember and Dear John, and those are all movies that I really enjoy. And so I ended up buying The Notebook because I love the freaking movie so much. I should also buy A Walk to Remember because I love that movie so damn much. But anyways, it ended up making me intrigued to read more from Nicholas Sparks, and not that I'm not going to anymore. Then to the second book that I read. It is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I am so happy that I finally got this book under my belt. I feel like I've had it for so freaking long and I just hadn't read it, and I'm so glad that I did. It wasn't like a crazy 5-6-star read for me, but it was like a highly rated 4-star. I think I'd rate it like a 4.5. I did really enjoy reading this book. I think I read it like within a week, and that's really fast for me considering that I'm a slow reader. But I was able to just consume this book so freaking fast. I really enjoyed it. Like I just had a grand old time. I was looking forward to picking this book up when I was at work or doing anything but reading it. And I dedicated like an hour or 2 every single night to just read, and it was so lovely because the book made it really easy to do that. I really liked reading about Bree and Archer. I think they were very mature, good people. Like it was just so wholesome to read about. Like they both had a past that they had to work through, and they knew how to communicate. They knew each other just so well, and I felt like their love was so real. I wish though that like maybe there's a little bit more of like a build-up. I feel like we got the romance really freaking fast. They fell hard for each other fast, And that is fun to read about, like, in its own way, but I think I was just like wanting maybe a little bit more of a build-up. And I feel like we got a lot of spice and I just wasn't very interested in it for whatever reason. Maybe because I wanted it to be a little bit more of a build-up for me to care more. Like, I was just like, okay, I get it, you know, like I wasn't annoyed. I didn't want to like stop reading the book. It wasn't anything like that, but I remember thinking, another sex scene. Wow. Honestly, after finishing this, I was like, do I not care about spice that much anymore? But then there's a book on this cart that changed my opinion for that, for sure. With that being said, me saying that the romance started really early in the book, you may be thinking like, what did we do for the rest of the book? There was a lot of like emotional healing and development that happened in the book. There was a lot of like PTSD, trauma that these two characters had to talk through and be patient with one another. And these souls, they were wounded. You can't just like jump into a relationship when you're like that. So it makes sense that the majority of the book is like about having to, like, you have to be mature, you have to communicate, you can't just get into the relationship when you have all this trauma. Like, that's what we were doing in the book, but also with spice. Then to the third book that I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I like the whole concept with the book being written like an interview. I just wish it wasn't. I mean, like, I can appreciate it, but I think if it were written like Malibu Rising or The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I'm saying it so fast I'm not even pronouncing it right, I think it would have been like a 5-star if it wasn't written like an interview. I feel that I wasn't able to be as connected to the characters, and I wish that we were able to just like follow the characters as everything was happening instead of it being in an interview way. I wasn't disappointed at all with the ending though. I really liked the ending. I think it was cool the way that it wrapped up. All that being said though, I still would rate this book like a 4.5. It was still really, really good. If you read a book that's like Daisy Jones and the Six where you're following a band in the 60s, please frickin' tell me because I want to read more. Like, if Taylor Jenkins Reid came out with Daisy Jones and the Six written like Malibu Rising, I would buy it and I would read it. That's how much I enjoyed these characters and had fun reading about them. But it's like I still got like a little itch, I feel, of like, I wanted a little bit more. Yeah, I feel bad saying that, but if that's how I feel, then let me just say it. I believe that takes me to, I'm looking at my Goodreads. Yes, that takes me to the first audiobook that I listened to this year. It's The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. Wow. That audiobook was amazing. I feel like I say that so much and it kind of just dilutes the meaning, but the book was amazing. It wasn't narrated by Britney Spears, but I feel like it was still her telling me her life story. I just have a lot of respect for Britney Spears for her to be able to tell her entire story, and I'm so happy that she was able to. That itself is a luxury that she didn't have. What was also really cool, so I was born in 2001. So this was when she was like, I'm assuming probably at her prime. When she was talking about all of these things in her audiobook, like the red carpets, the Grammys, the like music videos, like I didn't know any of it. So I would then go to Google and search up what she's talking about so that I could put a picture to what she's saying. So for instance, she talked about this all denim outfit that her and Justin Timberlake wore. I didn't know a thing about that, but if I was a teenager at that time, then I would have known what she was talking about. So then I would go onto Google, search up Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake denim outfit, and then I'd be able to flip through the pictures, and Ash is literally telling me what was going through her head at that point. I was able to look at these pictures, and then it was so cool because the second that I flipped to the next picture, she says, and people nowadays like wear it as like a costume for Halloween. I'm seeing costumes of that denim full outfit. I don't know. It was a cool experience being able to put pictures to what she was saying. With that being said too, what she went through was soul shattering, and I have like this special place for her in my heart, I feel like now, because of everything that she went through, I feel like I just want to like wrap her up and just like hold her in my arms. If you haven't listened to it or read it, I highly recommend. That takes me to then the 5th book that I read this year. It is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Oh, I just want to like give this book a hug. I was in like a reading slump. It took me, when you look at my Goodreads and you see when I started it and when I finished this book, it was literally a month and a half that it took me to finish this book. And it sucks because when I finish a book relatively quickly, that alone amplifies the experience with the book. But if it takes me so long and it drags, it ends up dampening the experience. That being said, I still rated this a 5-star. I think the story was incredible. Even to the ending, it had me shook to my core. I loved it. After reading this book, I came out a fantasy lover. Literally, this is my first fantasy I read, and I'm like, I love fantasy. Specifically, romantasy. I haven't read just like a fantasy book. Romantic. I love romantasy. The characters that we were introduced to with the war were lovely to read about. I want to pick out her name. Oh my god, the first page that I opened, Marisol. She was so lovely to read about. She was so motherly and just warm and sweet and just so comforting. And even to her friend, Iris's friend, Addie, Attie, she was also so lovely to read about. The characters that we were introduced to in this book were so fun, and I really want to read the 2nd book, and I definitely want to get my hands on it and just read it ASAP. Romance books, yeah, sure, the characters love each other. In this book, the love is way more intense and strong and real, and I feel like I really did believe their love in this book. Like, it just felt way more vibrant, their love. It felt way more real and deep. Romantasy is so different than just a romance book. Like, it hits different. Then this takes me to The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. I will use any freaking moment to show off this book. This book is so beautiful. This book, it did take me a month and a half like Divine Rivals, but it did take me a month, and it sucks again because the books have been amazing. I just wasn't having enough time to read. With that being said, even though it took me a month, I loved this book so much. I would rate it probably like a 4.5. This is YA, young adult, and I loved it. I love YA so freaking much. Also, the whole concept was Valentine's, and I ate it up. It was so freaking fun. Valentine's is one of my favorite holidays, so it was so fun to read Valentine's in this book. Our main character, Emily Hornby, is in a bit of a pickle where every single day she wakes up and it's Valentine's Day, and she cannot figure out and like find out why this is happening. And she's in high school with her boy problems. Emily is also having her own troubles at home. Her parents are divorced, and it seems that everything that can possibly go wrong is happening on this Valentine's Day, and she's having to repeat it every single day. And you would think a book that is repeating the same day would be repetitive, but it was not repetitive at all. I was not bored one single time. I also really enjoyed our main love interest, Nick. He was so fun to read about as well. I really enjoyed the characters. I think Lynn Painter did a really good job creating these two characters that you can just like easily fall in love with. Like, I loved this book, and I definitely want to buy more from Lynn Painter. I feel like it's a good old palette cleanser, and when I finished this book, like, I had a smile on my face. I really enjoyed it. The way that this book wrapped up as well, I think was amazing. That's the other book that I want to read by her, Betting on You. I read Better Than the Movies, and I really enjoyed it, and now I really want to read Betting on You. Then that takes me to the second audiobook that I listened to. It was also a memoir by Elliot Page called Page Boy. I developed this respect and love for Elliot Page because he went through so many traumatic things, like Britney Spears, And the fact that they were both able to put it in a book and share it with the world, I give so much respect to them. He endured so much hate for being transgender, and it was so hard to listen to at points because, you know, you just don't want to ever hear that someone has gone through that. But I think it's so important that he like shared his story. I feel like listening or just reading memoirs gives you so much more compassion and empathy for people because you literally hear their side of the story. And I just recommend memoirs in general. I love Rabbit by Miss Pat. I loved Britney Spears' The Woman in Me. I loved Elliot Page's Page Boy. Oh, also Doug Stanhope, Digging Up Mother. Like, I love memoirs, and I haven't read one since this year in a really, really long time, so I'm glad that I did. So that takes me to the last book that I read, the most recent book that I read, Flawless by Elsie Silver. Guys, oh my god, I love this book so much. Right now I want to say it's a 5-star, but I think I would rate it a 4.75. I think this may be one of my most favorite romance books. It's been a week since I finished this, I think, and I've been thinking about it every single day. Kid you not, I've been thinking about it every single day, and I've been wanting to pick up the second book so freaking bad. I am really enjoying the book that I'm currently reading right now. I'm currently reading Things We Hide from the Light from Lucy Score. I'm really enjoying that book, but tell me why this book and just like the series, the Chestnut Spring series, keeps popping up into my head because I want to continue the series so bad because I just had such an amazing experience with this book. Their love, real. Like, the country boy, I love you, it hit the spot. It was so fun to read about a bull rider. Who would have known? The small town, the found family, the brothers, the friends, the dad. Oh, guys, I had such an amazing experience with this book, and I'm so freaking glad because I had such high hopes for this book and it did not disappoint one single bit. Like, I liked it just as much as I hope I would, and it makes me so happy because that doesn't always happen. I highly, highly, highly recommend picking up Flawless. I really, really, really want to pick up her other series. The first book is Off to the Races. I can't remember the other series, but so many people are like, dude, this series is so underrated and it's just making me want to buy the entire series so bad. And this, I bought the entire series without reading the first book, and I'm so glad that I like trusted my gut because I'm so freaking happy to dive into this next book. Gosh, it wasn't even like enemies to lovers. They were a little more just like snippy, like smart asses to one another, and it was so fun to read. Yes! The fact that like he didn't touch her till like 80 pages in, I ate it up. Like, it wasn't necessarily a slow burn, but it was in a sense a little bit where they built it up so well, so by the time that they like finally, you know, like admitted their feelings to one another, it felt so freaking good. And the spice, Grandma Diane, I really hope you're not watching this. You probably are. Grandma Diane, I'm embarrassed. The spice was done well. I cared. I was interested. It wasn't overdone. There wasn't like too much to where I was like, okay, we get the point. In my opinion, Archer's Voice, the spice was overdone. With this one, it wasn't. After reading this, I wanted more. I wanted more. Like, I'm addicted. Like, I want to keep reading more. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. I freaking love this book. I would give it a kiss. So freaking good. I loved it. Guys, it was so good. Just listen to me and read the book, okay? Please. That concludes the 8 books that I read this winter, aka all the books that I've read so far this year. That is going to be it for today's video. Thank you so very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know down in the comments the books you've recently read. If you read any of the books that I read, let me know what your opinions were on them. I'd love to know. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!